And we're live? Okay. Well, hello everyone. Welcome to what is to be our final war room.
That is true. Yeah, by the way, getting a little bit of reverb there
Yeah.
on the sound, just so you know.
Is the monitor on? Oh, no, sorry. Well, thank you everyone who's joined us now. Yeah, this is it's quite a sad day.
I just want to say something. I've been on this project actually I think I have a unique viewpoint. I've been on it from both sides. I started off actually as the community director over at Wargaming, and was kind of brought into the project a little bit, I would say, late in the process. But I was introduced to this really young and very enthusiastic developer communications guy from Creative Assembly. His name was Josh, and there is something that you find in community professionals when you know that they're right for what they do, right? And Josh, I want to say that you have done an outstanding job with everything, and I know that the community will agree with me, and I know that they will say thank you for all of the effort and everything that you've done. And I know that's kind of a weird way to start the stream off, folks. But really quickly, chat, if you can help me out, just pay little F for respects there, okay? It's an emotional time.
It is.
It is an emotional day. Like I've been talking to you a lot, right? And I know that I've been telling you my personal experiences, and I've had to do this in the past. But I know that you're feeling a lot of feels, and I think a lot of the folks watching at home are probably also feeling that too. Yeah.
Yeah.
But did you have anything that you wanted to say real quick to kind of kick us off, Josh?
I think a lot of people are quite sad about this, and I know that there's really the reason for that is we put a lot into the community, and the community gave us a lot, and we really established this really strong bond. I think if we didn't care about you guys, and if you guys didn't care about the game as much, this wouldn't be so hard. But that's really why it's so tough, is because we enjoy chatting to you. You know, we enjoy hearing your opinions, and we enjoy logging on every day. In fact, I've got some. At some point, I'll break it out, but I got some things from the developers downstairs, just some stuff that they've learned. And one of them that stuck out to me was they said that they love logging on every Monday morning and seeing what new meme was there, or after the weekend, seeing what new meme was there, or anything like that. And
well, oftentimes I think that's a sign of, that's kind of like a measure of the health of the community. Is how hard do they meme? Are they memeing really hard? Pretty healthy community. Do they not meme at all? I don't know.
Well, we had some good memes. We had some great art.
Yeah.
Some good posts. A lot of posts about Heavy Arty.
Yeah.
But it was...
And lots of posts about camel.
Yeah, lots of posts about
camels.
And I think one thing as well is, you guys know, but I wrote the community feedback email every week.
Mm-hmm.
And what that meant was I always had to go through everything all the community said, and it was... I think it was during those times, I had like 4 hours scheduled for it once a week, and during that time it was just so inspiring to see that everyone has something to contribute. You know, they have something to say, and it's always passionately said. It's never, I guess this. It's always, hey, you guys should do this. This is what's the right thing to do. And you know, sometimes we went down different routes. We'd do something that maybe the community all of the community didn't agree with, but I think the thing that's always united us, the dev team and the community, is the passion that links us. And I think that's just, it's never been seen more than today, I think.
Cool. So, for those who are just now tuning in, who may not have had a chance to visit the website or log into the game yet, or check the subreddit, we did announce this morning at about 10 a.m. GMT, so it's about 7 hours ago at this point, that we will be discontinuing live operations for Total War Arena on February 22nd. Yep, February 22nd at 10 a.m. GMT, down to the minute for you. And what that means is that you, at that point on February 22nd of 2019, you will no longer be able to log into the game. You will no longer be able to play. So kind of in the lead up to this, what we have done is we've actually disabled purchasing in the store. So you're not able to spend any more gold on the game itself. We have also put up an FAQ, and you can find that in the Discord channel. You can find that on the subreddit. You can find that on the website, which is essentially just kind of is a little bit of a FAQ about, as much as we can say publicly about why and what you should expect, and also some links to some just some gifts, some ways to say thank you from Creative Assembly, and then Wargaming has also provided the option to transfer some of the your remaining currency to their other titles as well. So there's more details there. Now, what are we here for today? Today we are going to be answering some questions that you may have. Let's manage some expectations ahead of time there, folks. We're not going to be able to answer every question, right? And we're not going to be able to talk really down and dirty and specific about the business of things. What we can do is we can talk kind of more generally about how free-to-play games work and answer questions about that. And also maybe ask some questions, answer some questions that you might have had about the game's development and things along those nature. In fact, like Josh said, he actually has a list that the team knew that we were going to be doing this, right? And so
Yep.
they all kind of...
Yeah. Well, so we have these team meetings every other week, and at the last team meeting, I said, we're going to be on the stream. We're going to talk about this. And I could make up some rubbish about what we've learned, but actually, I think every person on this team has learned a hell of a lot from this project. And really, I said to them, just send me an email, just a couple of bullet points, what you've learned, and we'll talk through some of them. And the stuff they've sent me is, again, it's all quite emotional. I think they're all feeling very emotional downstairs. I know we're feeling emotional upstairs.
Yeah, for sure.
But...
Well, and so, actually, speaking about Sun Tzu Wakey Mistrew said, hey, Andy doesn't seem that sad. I have the unfortunate experience of having shut down a few games ahead of this, most notably City of Heroes and a game called Dawngate that was being developed by EA back in the day. So I've actually been through this a little bit. I guarantee you I'm still feeling that kind of melancholy and that sadness, but I've been down this road before, so it's while it's never a happy thing, I think experience has kind of steeled me and prepared me a little bit for this. So
I think one thing I would like to go through for at least tradition's sake is to run through the patch notes.
Okay. Cool.
Because unfortunately, I mean, you guys probably know why, but we couldn't do the War Room last week. So I'll just go through the patch notes for you guys who haven't read it, because I know there's a lot of words being thrown around today.
Before you do that really quickly, folks, one more little bit of expectation management. We know that everybody's feeling a lot of different emotions right now. Some people are going to be really sad. Some people are going to be very angry. Some people are going to be kind of melancholy. People are going to want to express those in different ways. That's okay. What we would say and what we would ask of everybody is, please, one, be respectful of each other. Don't attack each other. Two, please be respectful of the development teams, the folks behind the game. This is not an easy decision, nor is it an easy process for anybody. Like Josh said, folks downstairs are sad, and the last thing that they want to see is they want to happen or feel is to be personally attacked because of something that I don't think anybody necessarily wanted to happen. So
I'm sure that they're here now. They're reading the chat, so
I'm sure they are. Yeah. So let's be respectful of each other, and let's try to keep focused on the positive times and things like that. And then to that note, we are going to be moderating a little bit more, kind of more closely on things. We're not going to swing the band hammer in broad swaths or anything like that, but if you end up being kind of crossing over that line of disrespectfulness, we will have to take some action. So please, let's all kind of have a good stream. Cool.
Well, with that, the patch notes, I guess, for 3.1.15.1, which I think is the most complicated name we could have come up with.
Yeah.
We've joked before about how complicated our numbers are getting, and this by far takes it. So the first thing we have here is that the premium shop is empty, as you guys have noticed. Obviously, we don't want any more money spending. One key thing we have done is a lot of this stuff is geared towards making the game still playable and still enjoyable, although probably not quite as much as it was just for the remaining 3 months up until February the 22nd, because we're probably going to have a lower player count. So one of the key things we've done is we've reduced the stat differences between the tiers. So if Compared to what it was before, a tier 6 versus a tier 7 will have a 20% easier time. And that goes hand in hand with the slightly expanded tier brackets.
Yeah.
So we now go 3, 4, 5, 6, 6, 8, and 9, 10. And what that means is that with the two together, you shouldn't feel too much of a difference.
Yeah.
Like fighting a 6, 7 should now feel similar to fighting a 6, 8. So hopefully that kind of takes a bit of the bite away. It means that we can get players still playing whatever tier they were. And actually, I know you guys have asked today a lot about increased progression speeds and all of that kind of stuff. And we're talking to the team about it, and it's something that we are maybe willing to do. It depends really on who we can get, who's going to be able to do it, all of that kind of stuff. But we know you're asking for it, and we're looking into it.
So that actually does kind of bring up a fairly common question that we see when it comes to like shutting down a game. A lot of times people are just like, well, why not just stop updating the game? Why not just, just maintain it, just keep it going kind of in perpetuity? And the reality is that you can't actually just like turn a server on and set it and forget it. That's not how online games work. Over time, things will degrade. Performance, all that good stuff happens, right? Servers cost money to keep up. Engineers and people cost money to help maintain, and so unfortunately that was just not an option or something that we could really explore at this time for TWA. So
in the bug fixes, just to conclude the patch notes, I've got here written that live replays will now load correctly and show units, which was an issue we were having after we fixed replays in the last patch. I've had a couple of people say that replays still aren't working. I'm not too sure about that. It's been quite hard to work out if there are bugs with it today. So if you guys do get to try replays and they're not working, please let me know. And we also fixed an issue with the high tier ability selection that allowed too many abilities on one unit. We also said we fixed this last time, and we did, but there was a slight issue with it. What it was allowing you to do is, and you may have noticed some people were abusing it, it was with the tier 10 ability swapping, you could have like up to 6 abilities on one unit instead of 3. Yeah. But we've clamped down on that, and we got rid of it.
That was a little scary.
Yeah, it was. It was very. I remember when, like 4 weeks ago, when we introduced the high tier ability swapping, and within like 2 or 3 minutes, it was Raider TR. Yeah. He messaged me just like, "Hey, am I meant to have 4 abilities?" And it was his game had like crashed, and because of the crash, when he reloaded, he had the 4, and we were like, I showed it to the team. We were like, "This isn't good."
Because it's probably not something that should be happening.
Well, interestingly, we had, when we were preparing the patch, right, doing all the sweeps, doing all the tests, one person in the team had found that bug, and no one could reproduce it. We tried for like 2-3 days. We even almost considered postponing the build. We were like, we somehow had 4 abilities on one unit, and we cannot figure out why it happened. It turned out you just needed a PC that crashes a lot. Because when it crashed, he had the 4 abilities, and then it was absolute action stations. Like, everyone crowded around my computer. We were like, how did it happen? How did it happen? Within like half an hour, we managed to find the solution. And then we put a fix out. And then it turned out the fix was kind of working, but if you'd already broken it, it wasn't resetting you breaking it. So what this does, and has done, it's reset it. It's actually fixed it. So
nobody go and try and intentionally crash.
You know what? You could try it, but I'm telling you, we fixed it. It should be impossible, is what I've been told.
And please don't go telling people in the game that Alt F4 is actually how you get extra skills unlocked for your commander. That's
yeah.
It's funny how games crashing leads to so many different things breaking. I don't know if you remember a game called Diablo 2 back in the day. You would have been like in elementary school when it was popular. Maybe. No, you wouldn't have been born, probably.
What year are we talking?
It was before I got into the games industry, so we're talking I was like about 22, 23 years old, maybe. So we're talking a long time ago. It was about 19 years ago, Josh. So you were just born.
Well, I would have been toddling around.
Yeah. But there was a game called Diablo 2, and if you intentionally crash the game on a specific area with your Herodric cube open or with the thing open, it would create a dupe of whatever item you had in your cube. Right. And so that when you're talking about that, it kind of just reminded me of that old bug in this very, very, very old game. But, yeah.
Thank you to everyone in the chat. I see Sasha's here.
I do. I saw
it's nice
Sasha.
To see Sasha. Hey, Sasha.
Sasha, another just like super much beloved part of this community. I remember you know, such a huge amount of dedication.
Yeah.
I was really privileged to have her on my team at Wargaming, and you know, the next community. Well, the community that she's working with now is definitely lucky to have her.
Absolutely.
So, Sasha, thank you so much for everything. And I'm actually really sad I never got to meet you in person. So one day, it'll happen. Gamescom, something like that, right? So I want to give the community an opportunity to answer to ask us some questions. So if you would like to ask us questions, go ahead. You know, just put at Total War Arena. Sorry, in the chat. Total War Arena. At
Yep.
Total War Arena. Yes, that's right. I helped set the channel up. I should know this. At Total War Arena in the chat, so we can see the question. And I'll try and call out some questions from folks in the chat. You know, we'll try and answer some difficult ones.
I can
if
see
we
what they're asking already, and it's unfortunately something that we aren't allowed to talk
what
about.
was the next faction?
Yeah, we're just not allowed to talk
Yeah,
about
we're not
that.
allowed to talk about that, unfortunately, folks. And I'm really sorry. I know it's a much beloved or a much asked question, but
Yeah.
we did like release some concept art of stuff that was like in the works, but nothing. We never ever said like what was
No.
technically next or anything like that. So
Well, we said we were at some point working on Japan. I'll say that Japan wasn't the next faction.
no, not even close.
We also said that at some point we were going to add Spartacus.
Yeah.
But that's what we kind of said that's coming up, and unfortunately we can't add to any of that.
Yeah. It is what it is at this point. So, Turbo Henry, can you now let the servers open? We can't. Again, like I said earlier, we can't really leave the servers open. You know, doing that doesn't happen for free. It's not something we can just really kind of do for free. Prussian Prince, you just wrote a lot of stuff. That's a name I recognize, and I don't know if I can read it all.
Well, if you pick a question, I'll have a read through.
Oh, you have a read through it. So, Artez, Josh, what are you going on to next? Can't really talk about that.
I can't. Well, I'll still be at CA.
You are, yes. So that is one thing we should bring up. Everybody on the team, still here. Nobody is being let go. All of the kind of like earned knowledge and experience that the team acquired on Total War Arena is going to be you know, kind of paid forward to other projects and different focuses. So, you know, really happy to say that, and it's not all the time that you actually get to say that. In fact, usually you don't get to say that when you're announcing a shutdown of a game. So that there is a silver lining, at least from our viewpoint, you know, that would be one of them.
And there's a lot that we as a company have learned from Arena. One thing that I was called out earlier is someone asked what's going to happen to the servers, and Jamie kind of jumped in and he was saying that probably the most valuable knowledge from Arena is like how the server tech. Because at CA we never really went all in on multiplayer, and going all in on multiplayer, like we did incredible things to servers.
Yes.
And getting them to work how we did with an engine that really wasn't designed for a full multiplayer game.
No.
Like honestly, one thing that I just, if I can, like huge props to the team working on Arena. Like they did absolute magic with that game. The coding and everything that went into it. Like I said this earlier, but the coders are kind of hidden, right? No one really gets to see them or gets to talk about them, but the stuff they did, replays are an example I always bring up because they were absolute magic getting that working.
Yep.
For years we thought we would never get replays in Arena, and then you know they come along, they're like, hey, we've been trying this stuff, we've kind of got a beta replay working, and boom. And I know that they break, but
yeah,
the team just didn't. They don't get enough credit for the incredible stuff they've managed to do. And it's a really complicated back end.
It is, and that is the case. I think honestly for any kind of like online massively multiplayer game, right? You know, my career prior to coming to Creative Assembly was all in the MMO space, right? You know, I worked on you know, Warhammer Online, I worked on City of Heroes, worked on League of Legends, worked on these other games where, you know, we did truly operate these games as a live service, right? And for a team like Creative Assembly to start with none of that kind of like earned knowledge over the time and get to the point where they got to so quickly is actually I was really impressed. And this, I'm not speaking as a member of CA right now. I'm speaking of somebody who was on the wargaming side at the time when all of this happened, right? So, games as live service games are incredibly complex and difficult to run, folks. I know that a lot of the times companies can make it look easy, right?
Yeah.
Or companies, it's kind of masks the amount of work and dedication and literally the amount of just like firefighting that you have to do when it comes to running these games. And whether it is, the game client itself being stable and being able to communicate back and forth with the server infrastructure being able to support as many people as you needed to support it. And that's not even counting like the security of the game itself, right? Because I guarantee you, like as soon as you put a game online, people are trying to break it in whatever way
man,
they
we
can.
had a great day where we were sat in the playtest room, and we tried to find every cheat we could.
Yeah.
Like we sat there and we were like, right, let's see if we can cheat this way. And I remember someone did find a cheat, and that's when we started thinking like we've got to really step up our like anti-cheat stuff. I think easy anti-cheat was probably added soon after that.
Right.
But yeah, the cheat they found, I won't say it in case it is still possible. It was not good. One thing I will say on the note that Andy had is I will, if it's all right, read one of the things that one of the production managers wrote about what he learned from Arena, because I think it really speaks to what we've just been saying. Just from Stefan downstairs, he said, one of my personal highlights is that we've been able to set up a development and live operation team structure and process that allowed us to consistently ship patches in a 2-week cycle without missing a single release.
Yeah.
For many months, we managed to ship a build containing new features, new content, bug fixes every 2 weeks. This means having a new version of the game through development, integration, internal testing, publisher testing, deployment every 2 weeks, all while the next patch is already in development and planning for future patches.
Right.
And players may be surprised to hear, the more frequent our releases were, the more focused and streamlined we got. Though 2 weeks is likely the shortest period we could ever do, but it is definitely easier than shipping a massive update every 4 weeks.
I can say this, there are very few game companies who can actually do that, right? I've been privileged enough to work for 2 of them, one being CA, the other one being Riot Games.
Yeah.
The game is, I believe personally, I actually very strongly believe in the philosophy of this. Like my old boss at Wargaming, Jerry, he was the one who really kind of convinced me that this was actually a big reason behind some games' success is the fact that they had a very consistent, frequent patching cadence.
Yeah.
When you are doing this, you are consistently addressing bugs. You are consistently going after, you're consistently tweaking, balancing the game. And the game is always feeling a little bit more fresh than it would if you just let it sit for long periods of time. And even if it's just small incremental changes, like it makes a difference. It really does. It makes a difference, and it makes the game feel that much more alive. So I agree 100% with that.
Yeah, and I mean, I think one thing that we didn't really get to talk about a lot during the last 8 months, because we were kind of worried how it sounded, because we didn't want it to make it sound like the game was being cancelled. But we never really got to speak about how our team evolved, because 8 months ago, the Arena team looked completely different. We kind of hinted at it once, saying like, "Oh, we're doing a reshuffle," and people panicked a little bit, and they were like, people are leaving Arena." So we kind of didn't talk about it any more than that. But our team structure completely changed. We went from kind of one big team with sub teams to having really distinct teams, and now we kind of ended up with this these individual teams where they were self-sustaining. And the self-sustaining teams, I think it was on someone's what did we learn was the self-sustaining teams is by far one of the innovations we made that completely revolutionized our patching system and how all of that worked.
It's very important. So the Pike guy, hey, that Pike guy, good to see you in the stream, man. Asked, is this the last multiplayer-focused Total War game? Look, we've said previously that we are taking that knowledge, the understanding, and the kind of the discoveries, the processes that we've learned, and we're going to be paying that forward and using that in future projects here at CA. So while I can't speak specifically to is this the last ever multiplayer game or anything like that from CA, because we haven't, this isn't really the place we would announce things like that. What I will say is we have all this knowledge, we have all this understanding, and there are ways that, definitely ways that other games that we are working on or have worked on will benefit from that.
Someone said, was Japan as a faction actually planned to be added, or was that just an idea? That's a really interesting question, because Japan, like years ago, I know it was announced like a year and a half ago. When it was announced,
Yeah, it was.
we had like a tech tree, and we had no units in game. It was just a tech tree, and we were playing around with it. But then I think we saw what you guys were talking about, and we kind of had internal discussions, and we were like, actually, we want to add this faction first, and we want to add this faction first. And Japan kind of just slipped out and out a little bit more because there was cooler stuff we wanted to put in front of it.
Yeah.
So Japan was absolutely, it was something we wanted to do.
Well, I mean, I think it's it would have been a no-brainer. I mean, Shogun being the first of the Total War games, like it is an absolute nod to the kind of the roots,
well, I mean, Total War Arena came
franchise.
from the Shogun 2 Avatar Conquest system.
That's very true.
A lot of the initial devs on Arena were from the Shogun 2 multiplayer because they made a multiplayer version of Total War and they thought, hey, this is absolutely great.
Yep. So, Little Big Ivan, look, I know that your comment is a little bit salty there, and I get it. I want you to understand, like, I get that you might feel angry about those things that we're saying, and we're happy that we learned that information. But, like, look, nobody came into Total War Arena thinking, oh man, we're gonna just run this so we can learn all this stuff about multiplayer. That's absolutely 100% not the direction. Not the intent of the game. I think everybody here and everybody at Wargaming wanted everything to be successful, right? We didn't. The shutdown of the game is not something that we had planned for. It was not an easy decision for the team. I can tell you personally, being part of the leadership team here, within the brand team, that it's something that we had to discuss for a while and weigh a lot of pros and cons about it, right? So this was not an easy decision, and it was not something that we came to came to easily. What we are saying is, though, we want to try to find some silver linings out of this, right? And we want you all to know that, we learned a lot from this experience, and that learning, that education, is incredibly valuable. And we wouldn't have been able to learn that without the feedback that we were constantly getting from the players and from the community.
Someone asked, and I saw Sasha mirrored it, is, what's your favourite memory over the past year?
Yeah, that's a good question.
I'm going to cheat, and I'm going to say 2, because the first one isn't game-related, but it's something that made me laugh every time. So we had these morning meetings with Wargaming where we'd call each other. You remember, you used to be on the receiving end of those calls.
Yeah.
But there was one meeting where there was 3 of us in the room, and then Wargaming was on the other side, and this huge spider came out the corner, and we were on this call, super serious, and I just started screaming because it was crawling right towards me, and I was screaming, and I wish I could tell you that was the only time it happened, but I remember it was Jeff, and after the meeting he was like, mate, you can't scream. You can't start screaming during a meeting just because you saw a spider.
I remember that.
The other one, which is a bit more game-related, was we were doing a playtest, and all of the QA guys who, they play the game all the time, they know all the ins and outs, they found out how to do coloured text. And they were all doing coloured text during the battle, and I was getting more and more frustrated during the playtest because no one would tell me how to do it. It became this big joke in the room of just everyone telling me all these fake ways to do it. And then Dylan, he was standing over me. He was like, all right, Josh, I'll tell you how to do it. After an hour of people telling me fake ways to write this coloured text, he goes, all right, so you type this into the chat, and then you hold Alt, and then, okay, yep, get ready, and then you press F4 to refresh it. Alt F4 in the middle of the playtest. Completely ruined the playtest. They had to set up every machine again, but they did not. They were laughing so hard.
It was all worth it.
It was, oh man, it became a thing. For a while, everyone just every time I said anything computer-wise, they're like, make sure you don't press Alt F4, mate. And I'll be like,
yep.
Yeah, that was.
I don't know how you could actually be scared of spiders living in this country. Since I moved here, there are spiders everywhere. I go in the bathroom in the morning and look, spider. They love England.
They are. I'm terrified of them, man.
Oh, okay, fair
it
enough.
was terrible enough to scream in a business meeting, at least.
It's okay. So Navasa is asking, will we give free golden XP? At this point, we don't have any plans for that. We've discussed the possibility of is that something we can possibly work out? And so we're going to continue to discuss that. Just so you know, if we wanted to do that, what we would have to do is essentially assign a dev for I don't know exactly how long, but it could be a while, to essentially write a script that would go through and give everybody in the game grant everybody in the game,
Yeah.
the free.
I mean,
XP,
we've
basically.
spoken about it, right? We've spoken about like a script
Yeah.
that would give people a bit of extra currency every day, or like increasing the progression speed slightly.
Yeah.
One thing we can't do, and I've seen a lot of people request it, is asking us to unlock all.
Yeah.
We did try that. We tried that on one of the dev builds, and
Yeah.
it just absolutely broke it. There's a lot of like data in there that is activated by unlock all that
Yes.
shouldn't be activated.
It's very true.
So unfortunately, that's one thing we absolutely couldn't do.
Yep. Yep. Sasha says, for the devs reading chat, those you guys saw, those you didn't, you made an amazing game. I've had so much fun playing it. And let me tell you, Sasha plays the hell out of the game. I'll be seeing you be playing it over the next few months, so thank you for that. Let's see here. What other questions do we have in here? Silatella said, I would have thought it was when Tess shot all of Josh's dogs. His best memory.
Oh man, that was. Do you know what? That was my first ever game where I was in like I think the tier 10 bracket.
Mm-hmm.
And oh man, I was ready. I was like, right, I'm gonna do really well, guys. I go out, all my dogs are shot by Tess. It screenshot my score of like 100 points because I was immediately killed. And then that shared round. I know Paul got the screenshot because he comes up to me the next day at work. He's like, Josh, did you really get 100 points in a game? And I was like, you don't understand. I was barraged immediately. Like,
You got bodied.
yeah, I did not live that down for a long time.
Let's see here.
Someone
that
asked
pipe
if-
guy. Oh, so go ahead. Yeah, Josh.
Oh no, I was gonna say for you because I know you gave a great answer to this on Reddit. Someone said, could you specify why it was shut down briefly?
Sure. So I actually wrote a little bit of an allegory, right? And just to kind of preface this isn't to say that players like are a commodity. Like that's definitely not how we view commodities or players as a commodity. But I'm not going to speak specifically to the things that led to the decision being made for Total War Arena, but I will speak to kind of more generally about free-to-play games. And the way that I described it is that free-to-play games are kind of like an engine, right? And like all engines, they require maintenance, and they require oil, and they require replacement of parts even actually, when you have to upgrade servers and things like that, right? And also, like engines, they require fuel. And you all, the players, the fuel is the most important part of it, because without the fuel, the engine will it's just a kind of a lifeless piece of machinery. It doesn't do anything, right? But once you put that combustion source into an engine, once you give it that fire, right, that the players are, that's when it actually becomes something, right? And so you, the players, you're the fuel. And much like fuel, much like an engine, a free-to-play game needs a constant source of fuel. You need players constantly coming into the game, and much like gasoline, as a part of this allegory, the cost of bringing players into the game is ever increasing, right? And some would say there might even be like a finite source. It is. People who are interested in one genre over another, like there's only so many of those people out there too. So essentially you come to a point where it costs more to bring a player into the game than what other players on average, or the players on average, are actually spending on the game, right? And when you're operating a business model like that, you can understand how that doesn't necessarily make business sense, right?
I see some people were talking about the ESL events being their favorite thing, and I'll tell you what, in the learnings thing I had, so many people mention that ESL event as just something they absolutely love doing. I know, I see he's in chat, but yeah, Dogbert, he was always a massive fan of those.
Yep.
Do you want to answer that Pike Guys question? I know you were trying to answer it. I don't want to be. It was
Well,
how
what
close
was
were you
it?
guys to setting up global play?
Well, yeah, I was going to ask you, have we talked about how close we were on that end?
Kind of.
I mean, I know on the wargaming side of things.
Yeah. I mean, it was a lot of back and forth,
Yeah.
and it was quite slow going. I think we were quite close. I wouldn't be able to give you, I'm not a dev manager, I wouldn't be able to give you days or months, but it was a hell of a lot of work.
It was an incredibly complex problem to solve, and the reason is because the account data was stored on and we talked about this before, I think. The account data was stored on the wargaming side on separate servers, right? And this for various reasons. EU data had to be kept separately at the time, and this was even before GDPR. So now with GDPR, it's even more complicated. NA data was kept separately, CIS, so the Russian-speaking region. So we're talking Belarus, Russia, Ukraine, Kazakhstan, all those areas. They're all kept separately, right? And in order for us to kind of unify them all into a single client, the fact that we were able to do it through the game client and kind of unify everybody actually playing on the same server was one step to it. That was kind of a half step, right? And then we had to basically, to get all those other databases kind of merged together, we had to do a whole other kind of mountain of engineering and database work to get all that stuff together.
Yeah.
So when Josh says it was a lot of work, that is I think an understatement. It was literally weeks and weeks
and
of
it's work as well that touches every single part of the game, and you have it's like it's almost like an operation, right? You've got to be so careful. More like operation of the game, because you touch the sides and it buzzes you, and then it's so hard to go back. I saw someone asked, what if you guys convert this game from free to play to a one-time cost game? I mean, I'll tell you now, like,
buy to play.
yeah, I'll tell you what, like we went on a whiteboard and we thought of everything possible. Like we explored every avenue we could. We discussed everything, but ultimately, like it would.
And the other question is, how do you actually make a game that is already set up in free to play into a fair business model for the people who've actually spent money on the game already, right? Like, how do you make it buy to play in a way that's fair to people who buy the game, who want all this stuff, and it's a very complicated, complex issue. Like, and look, I know that in the chat, a lot of people are going to be like, well, you could have just done this and you could have done that. We explored a lot of different options.
Yeah.
We did, and we even asked the question, like the Steam question and things like that, and ultimately, this was the decision that was made, and this was a decision that was made between both Wargaming and CA.
And it's risks as well. Like those things that there's a lot of risk in them. There's a lot of unknowns, and they require dev time to get there. And then you risk losing the audience that you've built up because you've inherently changed the fundamental of the game, and then you risk not attracting new players because you've changed the game so much. And it's one of those things. Like, there's so many risks to it, and all that time you're then still spending money keeping the game up.
Yep. Falx God, so we talked about this a little bit earlier, and I guess you're just now learning about if we're gonna the game being closed in February through the stream, based on your comments earlier. So yes, Josh is fine. Everybody on the Arena team is fine. Nobody is being laid off. We're all moving on to different focuses, different projects. I actually joined Creative Assembly from Wargaming. I was at Wargaming previously, and I actually do not work only on Total War Arena. I'm head of community for pretty much all Total War products, Total War games. So I'm fine as well too. We've got a lot of things coming up, but I'm not here to advertise those other games.
So a couple of things. Sasha saying I'm still in love with the Harry design. I love the Harry too. Everyone knows that they are. I've said it so many times. I'm so proud of it. It was the first unit I designed. One of the only units I designed. Silly Sammy in there. She's one of the artists. So if you guys didn't know that, say hello to her.
Questions. Do you have any more those?
Yeah,
things that
sure.
The team said?
I mean, I have. Everyone was willing to share all of they've learned. He says, looking through the many pages.
Oh wait, Josh, we do have one question while you pick something out. Master, I'm not going to say the last part of your name. Yeah, clever. Wants to know camels, Josh.
Oh boy! So what? I'll tell you. This is a name you all recognise. These are some of the things that Will said that he'd learned from Arena. There are way more spreadsheets involved in game design than I would have thought. Things will break in ways you thought it was not possible for them to break. Balance is really hard, and the obvious solution is rarely the best one. Programmers are wizards, as we've said. Creating realistic, high-quality characters is enormously difficult and time-consuming, and the art team deserves tons of appreciation for what they've done with the commanders. And realism isn't an end in itself. Having a background in history makes all the necessary gameplay compromises more painful.
Absolutely.
You guys probably seen, not only on the stream, but Will is always sometimes in the subreddit debating the history, which is always great.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's hard too, because like we want to satisfy the folks for whom historical accuracy is an important thing, right? But at the same time, like, you can't say a game is historically accurate when you have Sulla, fighting alongside Germanicus or something like that, right? And trying to, I don't think they ever crossed. No, they were hundreds of years apart, right? Yes.
Sulla and Germanicus?
Yes.
Yeah, well, Sulla was... They were both in kind of the Republic stage, because Sulla was
Yes.
trying to save the Republic. Germanicus was kind of the height of it, right?
Exactly, yeah. So, there's a question up here from the Prussian Prince. Curious how far up or down the priority list were these features? Spectator mode.
I think it was like 13th.
Okay. Ranked.
If I know that means like absolutely nothing. Ranked was like 4th.
Okay. Drafting system.
Drafting system was still something that was being designed. I don't believe it had been prioritized.
Okay. And then the whole clan system, I think, was way off.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Although we did do like a little internal playtest of it, like of the very, very basic prototype.
Yeah.
Which was just, it got so political. So political. There was backstabbing. If you're watching this and you're a developer who backstabbed me, you know exactly who you are, Vix. It was really fun, but
I like how you said you know exactly who you are and then said their name afterwards, by the way. That's great.
I will say something as well on because I always kind of turn away from camels.
Uh-huh.
But I will say, like, the memes you guys make about camels always made me laugh. Like, I had like a collage on my phone of all of my favorites. I gotta say, like, always made me laugh.
Yep. Navad, the main reason caused the game to be closed. Like, look, it was. I don't think it's just any one reason. There's a multitude of reasons. But you know, ultimately, the game, and I know this is a really kind of safe thing to say, but this is what we've been saying publicly, and ultimately, the game just didn't meet either party's, either Wargaming or CA's expectations. So the difficult decision, did have to be made. So. Let's see. What else? Do you have some other things you want to share on there,
Yeah,
Josh? While I look for questions?
I'll pick another familiar name. I got one from Life.
Oh wait, hold on. Sorry, I'm going to interrupt again. I'm going to do this. I'm going to keep asking Josh to pick things out from the sheet, and then I'm going to keep interrupting him. It'll be a meme by the time it's over. Sasha says, "Josh, tell the story." She's saying it in all caps, by the way.
Oh wow!
So I'm going to say it in her voice. She's going to yell, "Josh, tell the story of the camel. Super secret camel call we had." What?
I think I know what she's talking about. Yes. Okay. So there was a thing that we wanted to do for April Fools that didn't quite make it in.
Yeah.
We wanted to put a camel in the game.
Yeah.
And what we did, oh my gosh! So we had one of the camel models from, I believe, Rome 2, and what we just wanted to see if we could just put one in and see what it did. And we put it in, and it replaced Hannibal. And on the front end, it looked like an absolute monstrosity. Like eyes everywhere, like folded in on itself, blinking. It was the worst thing I've ever seen.
Sounds
and
like
then,
a Warhammer 2 unit.
And then that naturally, like, the evolution of that was, let's play a battle and see what it looks like. And it would, like, run through itself. It was like some kind of 4D object on the battlefield. It was... Yeah, I mean, we were going to do it. We were going to try and do it for April Fools, but we looked at it and we thought, maybe this won't be too much work. And then we put it in and we were like, this is a lot of work for a joke.
So it sounds like next DLC for Warhammer 2 is Chaos Camels.
Oh, if they could just take them and plot them in.
Anyways, all right.
But yeah, it was a stuff of nightmares. Like, I sent the screenshot to Sasha, and I was like, think it's ready for April Fools? And this was like 2 days before April Fools. Oh boy.
What was I saw recently? The SNL sketch that was hand turkeys. Did you see that?
I have not. I haven't seen much SNL.
You need to go and like Google the YouTube video for hand turkeys. Oh no, it wasn't SNL. It was College Humor. Sorry, College Humor. College Humor, hand turkeys. Go Google it.
I will.
Nightmare fuel.
You know what, guys? If I can find the picture and people are alright with it, I'll see if I can share it in the Discord.
Okay.
It is absolute nightmare fuel, though. I'll warn you.
Okay, cool. So hey, if you're just now tuning in, this is the final War Room stream. We're the community folks. So here at CA, this is Josh. He's the developer communications manager. My name is Andy. I'm part of the community team here at CA. If you haven't read on the website yet, we have announced this morning as of 10 a.m. GMT that Total War Arena will cease live operations. That means the game will shut down on February 22nd, 2019 at 10 a.m. GMT. So if you are interested in more information, there are posts on the subreddit, on the website, in the Discord. There are FAQs. We are offering some Total War DLC packs, some stuff from Rome 2, some stuff from Warhammer, etc.
And Medieval 2.
And Medieval 2, that's right.
Definitive edition.
The definitive edition. And then Wargaming is also offering compensation in some of their World of games as well, too. So be sure to check out the FAQ. And we're here just to kind of share some memories and to answer some questions that you all may have right now. So we'll be going for probably around about 13 more minutes or so, and then we're going to call it a night. It's getting a little bit, well, I would say it's getting a little bit dark here in the UK, but it gets dark at like 4:30.
Yeah, I mean it's dark already. Like that isn't a curtain. That's actually outside.
It's actually outside. Yes. So.
And so many.
So you have a good one there.
Well, so one of our kind of oh man, I don't know his actual job title. I always just knew him as like the super online guy. Seb.
Seb?
He's been on the project. He was on there, I think, from the very start.
Yeah.
Working on the online
Probably
stuff.
like a network engineer,
Yeah.
server infrastructure engineer.
And he sent me a whole list of things that he learned.
Very smart person.
Oh, incredibly.
Yeah.
One of the things he pointed out that is automation should be in everyone's focus. So we have the auto test, we had integration testing, and
Yeah.
like that kind of stuff. It evolved a lot with Arena. Like learning how to automate stuff, get all these simulations, balance simulations, all of those things. It was incredible seeing all of that stuff being made. He's got stuff like, you may or not understand this kind of stuff, but stand-ups are important, but release planning is critical. Every team should have an area like the post-its in the streaming room. What that means is that we have, you guys may remember this, but like ages ago we had our own streaming room downstairs where it was just Dogbert and his stream on, and that kind of became one of our stand-up rooms.
Yep.
And there is just a wall filled with post-its of all the things we were going to be doing. And that's where people would have their stand-ups, which is where teams go and stand together. He said splitting the team into completely self-sufficient feature teams rather than specialization silos worked much, much better.
Yeah.
That's kind of what we were talking about before.
Strike teams, yeah.
I mean, he has so many things about everything we learned. It's... Yeah.
So Navai, we can't really talk about any sort of unreleased or unannounced content, unfortunately. So that's something we had said earlier that's not really something we're going to be tackling on this stream. So Helgenfire, we actually did. It says I may as well spend my gold. Unfortunately, we've actually disabled gold spending in the store, so you're not going to be able to do that at this time. So. Let's see here. Josh Master is asking again, what are you most excited about doing in the future?
That's a tough question. I haven't really looked forwards yet. I've just kind of been looking to today over the last 2 weeks. And this is something I'm really sorry, guys. Like we weren't able to talk as much over the last couple of weeks. And that that was really painful for me. Like I looked at everything you said in Discord, everything you said on Reddit, but one of the things that in myself I would never do to you guys is lie to you, and that's something that I've held true for as long as I've been with the community. Is we as a team would never lie, and I would never lie to you. And
Agreed.
Like asking you, are you guys asking us about, hey, when's this coming, and when will this be fixed, and knowing that it isn't happening, and I didn't want to lie to them, and it was probably ways I could have handled that better than just silence, but it was painful. And I've completely that was it. And during that time, I just threw myself into the messaging that you guys have read. That all came, very deep from the heart from all of us on the Arena team. But we'll see. Yeah. I mean, we'll see what the future holds.
Well, how about another thing? Like, look, Josh, I've told you this kind of privately, I guess, but I know that you learned a lot, coming away from this, and I think, as a community professional, as a communications manager, what do you view as like what is one of your most your most valuable learnings coming away from all of this?
I think that for me, one thing that I learned, and this is something I learned because I don't know how many of you guys were there since we started talking to you, but I started talking to the community just as on the off cuff on Discord. I just started talking to people, and then we grew more and more into the community until we really had our roots there. But one thing I learned from that is there's never a downside to just talking to someone.
That's right.
Just chatting to them, just seeing like the day-to-day interactions are just as important as those big feedback posts, because knowing what people are thinking, how they're feeling, not just about the game but in themselves,
Yeah.
because the two do go together, right? You guys put a lot of yourselves into the game, and we put a lot of ourselves into the game, and that comes through in the day-to-day talks. We see your passion, and then in the big Reddit posts we see, you know, your love for the game, and it echoes ours, right?
Yeah.
It's
Well, that's, I think, one of the things that I'm most proud of from, you know, you and from Sasha, was the close relationship, and from
Yeah.
and even from the developers, you know, who had the opportunity to speak and interact with the players. Like, I'm really proud of the very close relationship and that kind of level of transparency, and really the kind of the ongoing conversations
Yeah.
that you all were able to have with the community.
And that's the thing,
So-
right? It's I come out of a meeting and I have 5 minutes before I go into another meeting, and
Mhm.
I'd spend that 5 minutes. I'd just jump onto Discord and I'd talk to some people. Like, it doesn't even have to be about the game.
Yep.
And I think that was one of the things I enjoyed most, was just those random conversations with people in the community.
Terminator, RoboCop, James Bond. Wow.
That is a
That is a name.
That is a name.
That is a name. Hats off if I was wearing one to you. Any way of knowing how many people were actually playing the game? I don't believe we've ever released any sort of like public figures about you know, numbers or anything like that about how many people were playing the game. So I would just say more than a few. But yeah, we haven't really talked about publicly about numbers. Again, like IntelliSo is asking what was the average player count. Not something we can really talk about. So I will say that, you know, one of the things you have to consider when, you know, operating a game like Total War Arena is how many people are playing the game, especially as it relates to matchmaking, right? When you are putting the experience of the player first, you know, and matchmaking takes a long time, because the way matchmaking works, just kind of broadly, is that at the middle of the pack, like, it's actually pretty quick, right?
Yeah.
People find games very fast. It's as you go to kind of the edge of the skill, the skill line, right, where it's like, you know, at one end you have just just the absolute, you know, best players, like that top 1%, and at the other end of that, like, you know, you have the not as good players. No, I'm just
Yeah.
kidding.
Well,
I'm kidding.
wiped in one barrage.
Yeah,
is,
yeah. You have the players who get 100 points per battle. Just kidding, Josh. So, but like, you know, and as you're at those kind of ends of the spectrum, like, it actually takes longer to find players, you know, at the extremes, right? And the fewer number of players that you have in the game, the kind of like longer that takes, and the longer that takes. And so that's actually one of the reasons why we did the patch today, was to kind of help smooth some of that.
Yeah.
What we will say is that we are aware that, you know, over time, as people kind of decide to stop playing the game, we know that it'll take longer and longer to find matches. But, you know, at least for now, when there's kind of a renewed, I think, interest in the game after the announcement, people will be logging in and playing. It should be a pretty good experience for folks. So.
Someone, Adam the Dragon 21, said, "How do I get Total War Medieval free? I didn't get the pop-up." If Jordan could post the link in chat to Sega support, if you contact them, they'll be able to help you out.
Yep.
Is young Joshua retiring? Retirement would not suit me. I get, like, even if I have a day where I have like half a day free, I get super antsy.
He does. This is no kidding. Like, if he's even slightly bored,
Yeah.
you know, he's.
Well, that's where a lot of the great stuff came from. Like the innovations for the War Room came out because I had some time left, and I thought, hey, why don't we work on a different kind of dev stream?
Mm-hmm.
In fact, like stuff that we were working on, like the dev tracker and the bug tracker, we spoke to you about that there, but that came from some of the free time I have, and I was like, hey, why don't we show the community more of what we're working on, or actually show them the process of us fixing bugs? And it's a real shame that never got to see the light of day, because I believe at the moment it's still in the kind of legal loop. But
So, Josh, here's a question. Is there anything you would do differently in terms of, well, we can't really speak in terms of development. That's not our place
well,
to do so.
I think one thing I know that the devs would want to do, based on everything I've read here, is
Okay.
jump to the end. Is they would have want to gut the team that they've currently got and the way that it's set up. The 2-week cadence, we would have started way earlier if we'd known how beneficial it was going to be.
Yeah.
But also having the teams being all self-sufficient was just absolutely incredible for our productivity. And I think that having that earlier would have been great. We could have got a lot done quicker.
Okay, cool. Nava, we're not really in a position. This is not really the place where we would talk about the relationship with Wargaming moving forward. It's not really kind of the venue for it. So Sorry, it's not really a question we can answer here.
Someone said what was number 1 to 5 on the priority list. I cannot remember the list off
Number
by heart at
1,
least.
camels. Number 2, camels. Number 3,
But I do remember that. Well,
camels.
this is the thing, right? The list was ever shifting.
Yeah.
And I remember that.
That is game development in a nutshell.
But I do remember that, in the kind of final months, the number one thing we were looking at was global play.
Okay. Yeah, that's important, right? Like, I think that was something that we all wanted,
Yeah.
both on the Wargaming side, when I was there, and definitely on the CA side. So, folks, we have time for a few more questions. If you would like to get them in, make sure you tag the channel in it.
Would you still have said, "Show me your rear" on stream? That was Do you know what? That was one of the only times I've joined a stream from home. Usually I'll join them from the office, but it was like a Saturday morning. I was like, I think it was Wild Bill stream. I was like, yeah, I'll jump on, and I was playing javelins, and an elephant turned around, and I went, oh yeah, show me that rear. Immediately clipped.
Were you on Discord?
Yeah, we were talking.
Oh.
I was talking on Discord. I think my girlfriend in the other room was like, "You should not have said that, Josh."
Oh, are you kidding me? Like,
yeah.
those memeable moments are the best.
Shouting, "Show me your rear!"
It's not like you
as
were
a
like,
developer on the game that you're playing.
And?
I mean,
We're talking about an elephant.
it was taken out of context.
Listen,
many times.
Yeah, well, you know.
Would you dress up as Ambiorix one more time? If I had my wig and it wasn't downstairs, I would. But that mustache absolutely kills. Pinches your nose like mad.
Didn't Sasha cosplay as somebody once?
Well, she's got the picture of her as Boudica.
As Boudica, yeah, that's what it was. Right. Hi, Sasha. Clipped in seconds. Shall we really?
Oh no! That's why I should have said, "Show me your beep." Oh, that's even worse.
Show me your behind.
No, I just beat myself because I thought that would be better than saying rear.
Okay. All right, we got a couple more moments. Boudica. There we go. Comrade Axel says that's such a good clip.
Great.
So, alrighty, folks. So we're gonna go ahead and start winding it down.
I might grab the helmet though,
You're gonna grab the helmet.
for old time's
You're
sake.
you're gonna give him just one more meme, one more screenshot, Josh. That is by the way, that is a very heavy.
Oh my gosh! How
Helmet.
did I get that with one hand?
I don't know. You gonna put it on over the mic?
Yeah.
There we go. Awesome.
How does that sound, Jordan? Hey.
Hey, there we go.
There we go.
One more.
I feel it in my skull.
Do you?
Yeah.
Love it. Thank you. I'm going to say something, and then Josh can close us out. But thank you very much to all of you from the bottom of my heart. I know I didn't. My time with the arena community was kind of sporadic. I was very involved, I think, in the early days of the closed beta, or not the early days of closed beta, but during closed beta.
Oh, go on then.
Oh gosh, a wig.
It's.
And of the open beta specifically. But I want to give a special shout out and thank you to the subreddit moderation team, the Discord mods, and to King Nicolaj for helping to manage, and the team the community the players that help run the wiki, and a particular special shout out to Ardez. Without all of your efforts, without all of your dedication and your time, this community would not even have been anywhere near as special as it was, and is, and will continue to be.
And I think one thing. So I think we'll end it here, but I'd like to end it on one of the things that another one of the things that Seb said in his list. For those of you with a nervous disposition, there is a swear word in this one, but I think it sums us up very well. The last thing he put on his list of things we learned was that our team was fucking brilliant. Everyone on it is awesome. The atmosphere of our office area, where that's been, has felt electric for at least the last 5 years. And I think it absolutely sums it up. Like, everyone down there is brilliant, was brilliant, and will always be brilliant.
You know it's electric, Josh? You in that wig.
Thank you very much. All right, guys. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm sure we'll see you around. From us, everyone on the arena team. Goodbye.